Back row minister of the world, Mr. Marky coming at you live and direct. Boy, oh boy, did I bomb with my Super Bowl picks, but still profited. And I sure tell you guys how I profited. I lost and won at the same time, and I'm going to tell you what kind of got me over the hump. Way off on my Super Bowl picks, and I'm going to tell you some reasons why. And actually, I went back and decoded again. So when I did the second decode, and I say that anytime you're dealing with sports decodes, go back before the game, double check what you had. And when I went back and double checked, I saw, other potential numbers I didn't see. So let me open up another date. Open up the date and kind of point to some things I didn't pay attention to on the 19th. All right. I'm going to sports. Going to NFL. And going to the schedule. We're also going to talk about Broadway. We're going to also talk about Joe Montana. So let's go to the schedule. Going to the standards. We're going to standards and conference. All right. So where did we go wrong? So this is a learning experience. I'm still learning. Sometimes you're going to strike out with your decodes. It's all right to admit you're wrong. I can do that, and I'm going to tell you exactly where I struck out with my decode. And you'll see that this didn't change as far as where Kansas City was. Inside, we go to playoff, go to home record, away record. A lot of that didn't change. So if you were looking at this, a lot of this stuff did not change. Pretty much the regular season records stayed where they were. So let's go to pro football. Go back into pro football. Go to Kansas City. I'm gonna go to their head-to-head records, and we'll go find the Titans. All right, so what happened? So we know in the Tennessee Titans game that the Chiefs went 3-1 against the Titans. They went 3-1 against the Titans. So what does this mean for the Titans? That will mean in reverse, the Titans went 1-3 against the Chiefs. So the Titans were 1-3 against the Chiefs on this day, and they became 3-1 on that day. So they got another victory, became 3-1 against the Titans. So if you reverse 3-1, of course you get 13. And January 19th was our day. 19 is 8, of course. So that's why I was skeptical with going with Kansas City. But still, we had that thing with Kansas City and Green Bay that I was still throwing around there. But also, we got a 13 here. You see how the 13 is over the 19? 13 is always going to trump. That's something I'm learning. Remember, 13 is the number of change. So 13 was able to trump 19 on that day. 13 is a special number, so it automatically trumped. So the Titans went 1-3, which is 13. And Kansas City went 3-1. So 13 is just a you can say it's a reflection, but in ways you can't, because 31 is 11. So I wouldn't say it as a reflection of 13, because both numbers mean different things. So what do I mean by that? Well, some numbers can reflect. Some numbers I don't say are reflections. So 13 would be 7 and 6. So it's the 6 prime. 31 is 11. So that takes us back to 11. That's the 11 prime. So two different prime numbers. So I won't say they really reflect. So if you would have saw it from Tennessee, and we'll reverse it. And that's why I say in college football, do this. And I'm learning you need to do this even in your regular decodes. I always do the reverse because you might have a different number. So go Tennessee versus Kansas City. Here are the Chiefs. And they were 1-3. So they went 1-3 on the day with 13 in numerology. And that's sometimes, how it is. Sometimes it's just how it is. It's that simple. So 50-23, they got their 23rd loss. 23 is 9 on that day. And Kansas City picked up their 50th win. Kansas City picked up their 50th win. So big win. Remember we had the 50-50 thing with Tannehill. Tannehill can get that 50th win, the 50th loss. Kansas City equal 50. And we'll pull that back up. For those that forget, that was something else that was on the table for Tannehill. Kansas City was 50. So in reality, Tennessee remained at 50 wins. They got their 23rd loss. It was at 22 losses going to that game. So 23 we know is 9. It's also 6. We had a lot of 6 in that day. 6 is 0 is 6. 6 plus 0 is 6. 2 plus 4 is 6. 1 plus 5 is 6. So we had a lot of 6 in that day. But the key piece right here was the 13. One of the key pieces, but wasn't the whole key piece. Also, we had a lot with the coach. He could have got his 208th win. I'll show you that with Kansas City. I don't like to be making shit up. So people say, oh, he's full of crap. And I'm going to tell you my mistakes. And this is how you get more proficient at this. Make some mistakes. Make some corrections. And really work on getting it right. Because it's easy to make mistakes. And like I said, sometimes it's just common sense. They say, well, all sense ain't common. Well, for some of us, we outthink ourselves. And I'm one of those guys who outthink yourself because I'm gonna say some things in this video that's going to say, well, Belaya, mahdi, you was talking about that the whole time. How did you go away from it? And we're going to bring it all back. So, Kansas City, we go to the coach. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place with the video. So, we'll go to coaches. Andy Reid. So Andy Reid with this win, he came in with 270 regular season winning. He got his 208th win, which did happen. And in the playoffs, there was his 28th playoff game. Win in the playoff, he got his 14th playoff win. And he stayed at 14 playoff losses inside of that game. Okay? So he was able to get that 14th playoff win. Okay, so he got his 208th win against Tennessee. So I still count that, although in regular season they don't count, so they might freeze it here. But he did get that 208th. They say 207 regular season, but he got his 208th win against Tennessee. And if you take Nashville, Tennessee, the home of the Titans, which probably I spelled that, murdered the word. Nashville, Tennessee. See, Nashville, Tennessee goes 208. So got that 208th win against the Tennessee Titans. So that's pretty much how that played out in that game. So we talked about possibility with Kansas City. The thing that reared me away, it was a lot of 19. Vrabel could have got his 19th win. I was like, it was a lot of 19, but that 13 pretty much trumped. That 13 trumped. They got that 13th loss. And if you look at the regular season record, although they don't count it, they got that 13th win. So their next win will be their 14th win. So he could stay on 14 playoff wins or 14 playoff losses going into the next game. That's something to think about for Kansas City. But I think a lot more flares off for Kansas City. Okay? So, what were some of the things that we missed? Some key things that we missed. And I want to take us all the way back to 7-11. 7-11 coding days. And we see Kansas City equals 14. Remember, he picked up that 14th win. If you use the KC, so sometimes when they give you something, like when they give you KC, use it. Because if you look at KC, you see that 14. KC equals 14. Andy Reid got that 14th win. You see 23. Remember, they became 50-23 against Kansas City. KC was 23. That was their 23rd loss. 13. KC. This I missed the ball. Like I say, with this, you got to be very thorough. Anything they give you got to use. So KC equals 13. Tennessee went 1-3. They give you everything. It's like they're not really trying to hide it. They're not really trying to hide anything. We perceive that it's hiding, but it's not. They're pretty much giving us everything. Giving us everything. And you gotta look for it. But any little thing they give you, any initial they give you, they're putting message in it. And everything was kind of hidden in this KC breakdown. At 13, at 14, everything was in KC. So anything you get, 49ers. That's how I break down 49ers. So when I do my decode with the 49ers, and probably when I do Green Bay decode. Now, Green Bay, you remember we were talking about 44. My first initial pick with Green Bay was Green Bay to lose because of the 44. Then I went back and saw 44 and 33. I'm like, oh, well, that kind of vibrates with the Super Bowl. Maybe we get Green Bay and Kansas City. Here's where we went wrong. We've been talking about San Francisco for the whole 2019, the Golden Gate Bridge, 7-Eleven, last black man in San Francisco the whole time. This is what I mean by common sense. They've already given us the Super Bowl. They had already given us Super Bowl. San Francisco at Game 3, I was still talking about San Francisco possibly being in the Super Bowl. You go back to some of them old videos. So I came off of my stuff. And one thing I got to do is stick to what I know. So we've been talking about the last black man in San Francisco for a while. Why does that make sense going into this? And the 22 ritual. I mean, the 22 is the number of the master builder. So let's go to Patrick Mahomes. We're going to go to Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to go to a few more things with KC. Why we had KC first. So when we go to KC, remember KC, you guys KC again. And we scroll on over. In KC, we get 22. So remember this number, Derrick Henry 22, the master builder number. Stamped on KC, KC 22, the master builder. So sometimes they just hide it right there. So we're thinking Derrick Henry is, the 22 is about Derrick Henry. No, the 22 was about KC and the Chiefs. KC and the Chiefs. That's the 22. And see the 19 was hidden there too. All inside of the 22. But it did have something to do with Derrick Henry too. We're talking about Super Bantu. Derrick Henry was the Super Bantu in that game. He's the guy running all over everybody. We had the 22-second knockout from Colin McGregor, the Super Bantu knockout, 22, the master builder. Why is this significant? We just put Bantu up there, just be doing it. Put some Bantu up there. And we'll see if that vibrates with anything. Remember 137, that's 33, that's the 33rd prime number. 137, 33. So we see 137 inside of Super Bantu, takes us back to 33. See if we got any 33 shining in this, and we do. And our 33 is hidden inside of who? Super Bantu, Patrick Mahomes, number 33. Patrick vibrates with 33. Mahomes. If you go to Mahomes, Mahomes vibrates with 61, the God number. Mahomes vibrates with 88. He's a member of the 88 Club, Patrick Mahomes. He's the last 88 Club member. Remember, we had all these 88 Club members. Here's another 88 Club member, Patrick Mahomes, an 88 Club member. 88 is 16, 88 is 64. Remember that. 88 vibrates with a lot of things. So, Super Bantu, we know it's 137, 38. Mahomes is 38. Mahomes is 38. 38. Super Bantu is 38. Remember, he's the last black man where? In San Francisco. He's the last black man in San Francisco. Remember, that's the last black man in San Francisco. 92 is 18. 119. Break down more of our numbers, but he's that Super Bantu. Super Bantu, 61. Super Bantu, 88. All those numbers tie up. Mahomes, 88. Mahomes, the Super Bantu, the last black man in San Francisco. See how they do it? So they give you the movie talking about the last black man in San Francisco, and then they put the last black man in San Francisco being Patrick Mahomes. So we just came right back full circle to what we had been talking about, which is our 69 ritual. We start off in Kansas City in the year of the black quarterback. They give you Patrick Mahomes, and he's the last black man in San Francisco. So I still got to do the numbers on that game to see how it fares. I'm going with Kansas City to win that game. win that game. The Super Bantu overcomes in that game. But that is the ritual. We're going all the way back to the same ritual that we've been in with the last black man in San Francisco, and still them focusing all your attention on San Francisco to give you the 22 and 11 to focus on San Francisco. Put the 22 in there, the number of the master builder. Remember, San Fran is 11. We talk about a lot of 7-11 in San Francisco. Got a lot of 11 in San Francisco. Then you get your 22 with Kansas City. So that's your 22 and 22, 11-11 ritual right there. So they continue the ritual in sports. That's how they hide it. You just got to be one up on them. And sometimes just use common sense. Common sense is these were the best two teams. No, they were the most focused on teams. Remember San Francisco, they've been focusing on them the whole time. And we've been talking about San Francisco pretty much all of 2019. We were talking about San Francisco. So, some other things that threw off people, and this is where they kind of throw people off the track. Remember C.J. Beathard's brother was fatally stabbed in Tennessee. So some people thought that this was San Francisco and Tennessee. And C.J. Beathard's brother, as the story goes, stabbed December 21st. So his brother stabbed C.J. Beathard, Clayton Beathard, 22. Here's the 22 ritual again. Stabbed on the 21st, transported to Vanderbilt University Hospital in Nashville. A 21-year-old man was stabbed. And I think this is about the third game of the season for the 49ers. So a lot of people are trying to tie 49ers into Nashville that way. And it did make some sense. But this 22 was there. Then 22 tied into Kansas City and the 49ers. That 22 was belonged to Mahomes. So they gave you the 22. You just had to find what 22 they was talking about. So, of course, you take it back to the year of the black quarterback. Take it back to the year of the black quarterback. I'm flying all over the place. I apologize. And we'll put in year of the black quarterback. All right, so year of the black quarterback gives us 105. Your 105 vibrates, of course, with what? 105 vibrates with the last black man in San Francisco. See, last black man in San Francisco, vibration of 105. There's our 105 vibration. Go up. Year of the black quarterback vibrates with 105. See how they just stick it in your face? Last black man in San Francisco. Of course, the last black man in San Francisco is who? Patrick Mahomes, a member of the 88 Club. Remember, they put the light-skinned brother. Now, think about what they did. And I'm not trying to sound a certain way, but things that they do. I'm a light-skinned brother. But things that they do. Things that they do. And it's always insulting how they do it. And it's always a way to kind of, get us to go to war with each other. It's always this way to get us to war with each other. So what they do is they don't put the best quarterback or the guy who they were focusing on in the Super Bowl because he had to be destroyed. The pure African, had to be destroyed. He can't represent the Super Bantu. You can't have the pure African represent Super Bantu. So who do you give the people? You give the people the light-skinned version of what you think the African quarterback should look like, or the leader, the African leader should look like. Okay, then we got 13. 13 right there. You're the black quarterback is 13. So they were just playing around the whole time, trying to take us back to where they really want to be. Getting at the Super Bantu, destruction of the Super Bantu, isolation of the Super Bantu in that area. Remember we said San Francisco, last black man in San Francisco. So what do you think they're going to do to Oakland? What do you think they're going to do to Oakland if Mahomes is the last black man in San Francisco? People are like, yeah, Mike, you crazy. What are you talking about? But it's a symbolism behind the last black man in San Francisco. Watch the movie. Watch the movie. There's some symbolism. And for those that don't know, I'm going to close with here's our film, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. And we do IMDb. Here's our last black man in San Francisco, the dark-skinned brother. Jimmy Fails. Look at the character's name. Jimmy Fails. Jimmy Fails is the lead character in The Last Black Man. So Jimmy who fails is the lead character in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Like I say, we don't make this foolishness up. And of course, Barack Otaco said that was his favorite movie of the year, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. We don't make this stuff up. Remember, Jimmy fails, 61 the God number, 210, 74, 74 the Jesus number. Anytime you see Jesus, you see number 74, 106, the number of prophecy. Number of prophecy. So where's the vibration at? Take 61 and 52. Jimmy fails. Who do we go down to? Let's go down to Patrick. What's Patrick? 61, 52. What's Jimmy fails? 61 and 52. The last black man in San Francisco. They throw it right in your face. And like I said, if you caught up in the sports part, it's going to distract you away from what you were already working on. Remember, we were already working on this. We've been working on this. And they just took us right back to where they wanted us to be from the jump. Last black man in San Francisco. And to throw it in your face, it can't be the dark-skinned brother who's the last black man in San Francisco. Got to be the light-skinned, our representation of what we want in San Francisco. My friend pointed this out to me the other day. Why are all the Golden State Warriors players light-skinned all of a sudden? Has anybody paid that attention? Why are all the majority of the players, give it Draymond Green, most of the players now on the Golden State Warriors are light-skinned? He brought that up to me. I'm like, I didn't think about that. Now we bring the last black man to San Francisco who's a light-skinned brother. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy, but that it is. So this is pretty much the same ritual. We're going through that same ritual, the Super Bantu ritual, the portal being open in the West Coast, and bringing that energy. They got to keep the energy going. And this is the last black man in San Francisco ritual with the Kansas City Chief. The Kansas City Chief being the last black man in the form of Patrick, the light-skinned boy, Mahomes. And here's another clue that we missed. Chiefs. You can take Chief is 31, which is 13, but Chief is 31 and 41, which is 13. And they got that, they went 3-1. So they were really 3-0. They went 3-1. So that kind of was that other piece that we kind of missed. So a lot of things we missed. Chiefs is 88. Those 88 club rituals. So a lot of ritual inside with the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs is 50. So a lot of things was going. Chiefs also 131 was the championship number. 32nd prime, 32 was NFL. So this might be the Chiefs year. Who knows? This might be the Chiefs year, but we're gonna do numbers on this before we make a decision. We're gonna look at it again, but this is our last black man in San Francisco ritual. So anytime you kind of decode everything, but go back to things you talk about. Remember, all these rituals are connected. Talking about the CERN ritual in San Francisco. Last black man in San Francisco. You need the black man to activate the CERN. The Jimmy Fails and Patrick Mahomes will be playing the character of Jimmy Fails. That's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick 33. Like I say, all of it vibrates. All of it vibrates. Mr. Mahdi, peace and hair grease.